Organizational forgetting. How organizational knowledge can make or break an organization. Organizations have, in recent times, become aware of the knowledge of regulating their organizational knowledge. Some organizations forget things they should know and incur huge costs to replace lost knowledge. Conversely, there is knowledge that traps the organization in the past and keep them reliant on uncompetitive technologies, dysfunctional cultures, and untenable assumptions. Successful organizations make themselves adept at avoiding these pitfalls. This presentation peers inside the organizational forgetting matrix that highlights the 4 forms of organizational forgetting based upon the interaction of the following 2 dimensions: accidental forgetting versus intentional forgetting, and entrenched knowledge versus new knowledge. Interaction of the above 2 dimensions results in 4 processes that constitute the forms of organizational forgetting. They are memory decay, failure to capture, unlearning, and avoiding bad habits. Organizational skills once lost take tremendous time, money, and effort to regain. Organizational knowledge is lost if not used for long periods of time and needs to be preserved carefully for future use. This type or form of organizational forgetting is known as memory decay. Memory decay occurs when concepts, practices, and values are lost because of non-use or key personnel leave the organization. Organizations can forget elements long ingrained in their collective memory, triggering costly and harmful consequences. Extended periods of non-use, departure of personnel carrying that knowledge or skill in their hearts and minds, forgotten routines, misplaced important documentation, collapse of close working relationships are causes of memory decay. Memory decay is a significant and regular phenomenon that is not understood well across organizations. Making the decision to preserve organizational knowledge is a strategic objective that must be supported by leadership. The avoidance of memory decay needs to consider the following 2 factors. 1. Uncover the true source of organizational knowledge. Understand where knowledge lies is the first crucial step. Knowledge is not just formal documentation. Knowledge is often, many times, in employees' minds on pieces of paper, and it's embedded in communities of practice. So we need to first uncover where those true sources of organizational knowledge lie. The second consideration is to maintain organizational memory as a strategic objective. Organizational knowledge is a complex set of information, skills, and tools that requires time, effort, and money to maintain. Organizational knowledge that is only sporadically used needs to be carefully preserved. Decisions to maintain such complex knowledge or let it go, therefore, needs to be a strategic one. Organizational forgetting has a strong bearing on organizational competitiveness. Informal knowledge is a part and parcel of the organizational knowledge base. Failing to capture it is a costly mistake. Failure to capture new knowledge and disseminate it throughout the organization results in a loss when individuals bearing that knowledge leave. Knowledge articulation and knowledge institutionalization are 2 processes that can prevent such loss. It is not only existing knowledge that gets lost in organizations. If there are no proper processes in place to capture and circulate new knowledge, then it also has a tendency to vanish. Usually, such knowledge is borne by individuals or is fragmented among a group of individuals. If a person leaves, that piece of the puzzle goes with them. Preventing such loss requires 2 interconnected processes to be put in place: knowledge articulation, where the knowledge is made explicit, and knowledge institutionalization, where knowledge is communicated throughout the institution and entrenched in suitable parts of its memory system. Remediation strategies for failure to capture. Number 1, circumvent heroes. Organizational operations depending on individuals bearing expert knowledge is a common practice. It's when such knowledge is not managed properly that organizations start to become vulnerable and organizational learning is curbed. Avoiding the sharing of knowledge is a basal instinct that needs to be skillfully managed. For instance, by instituting a bonus incentive structure, rewarding knowledge sharing, or aiding such experts develop add competencies as they relay their past knowledge and skills. Strategy number 2, connect the new to the old. Interconnection of organizational knowledge in complex ways is difficult to imitate, and that is what gives organizations a competitive advantage. Adoption of new knowledge is relatively trouble-free when employees can link it to their existing area of expertise. Strategic importance of the new knowledge is likely to be lost on employees if the relatability factor is low, thus increasing the chances of resistance to it being adopted. Organizations need to apply extensive effort to make certain that employees appreciate the importance of adopting new knowledge and do so readily. Unlearning is important as learning for organizational growth. Unlearning, or otherwise known as intentional forgetting, is the process of deliberately impeding the recall of certain organizational knowledge to support an organization's change in strategic goal achievement. Unlearning is a strategic removal of knowledge that is well established within the organization's memory. Removal of knowledge that begins to destabilize the success of an organization is as strategic as learning something new. There are a number of strategies that can help organizations unlearn knowledge that has become a hindrance in achieving efficiency and growth. Some unlearning or intentional forgetting strategies include 1. Interrupt routine and common practices. Knowledge is rooted in routines and common practices by an organization so that it remains useful and accessible to everyone across the organization, even if the originator leaves the organization. Human nature is not to question the assumptions or underlying routines and practices. Factors such as vested interests or not questioning long-held assumptions make unlearning problematic. Shifting focus from routines by introducing new uncomplicated routines and new practices is one approach to unlearning. Strategy number 2, divest businesses. Debasing powerful vested interests that want status quo or deeply embedded knowledge sometimes demands profound action. Divesting part of the business is a costly but effective way of unlearning knowledge that has become divergent to the organization's core activities or impedes strategic change or is otherwise difficult to root out. Divesting an operation could include shutting down a department or a group or organizational restructuring. Learning is like a double-edged sword. Learning appropriate knowledge brings rewards, while learning impractical or detrimental knowledge may impede progress. Avoiding bad habits is the practice of vigilance to disrupt and prevent the adoption of bad habits before they become ingrained as a part of organizational knowledge and then have to be unlearned. Learning organizations are characteristically regarded as healthy and cooperative, but like people, organizations can also acquire bad habits. Routines, practices, ideas, and values that impede growth and success of the organization must be systematically rooted out by vigilant organizations before they become established. The better the organization is at learning, the greater propensity there is of picking up bad habits. Systems have to be introduced to help differentiate between useful knowledge and detrimental knowledge. Determination and devotion for identifying and forgetting potentially bad habits has to be equally intense as that of learning. Strategies for avoiding bad habits? 1. Avoid overlearning from success as well as from failure. Actual challenges in learning is to learn the right things, be it from success or failure. Insights to clearly identify the correct reasons for failure and success have to be developed by organizations in order to learn the right things. Incorrect assessments of reasons may lead to bad judgments regarding the organizational capabilities. Bad judgments may lead to clouding confidence about achieving success, or conversely may produce overconfidence regarding capabilities in an area not core to the organization. Strategy number 2, isolate from the bad habits of our partners. Collaborations and partnerships generally enhance an organization's capabilities, but the organization has to remain vigilant and control what it learns from the collaboration. Partnerships comprise of numerous points of contact between employees of both organizations, which has the potential to inject unintended knowledge that can become disadvantageous. Managers need to remain vigilant and guard against learning disruptive behaviors that run counter to the organization's culture and organizational knowledge. Handling of organizational knowledge indicates a lot about organizational culture and competitiveness. Preserving our knowledge base is key to organizational success. But what knowledge to preserve is the critical question. Managing what knowledge should be forgotten or retained, and how it should be forgotten or how it is retained, is critical for establishing a competitive advantage. We hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to this channel.